What's up, family? It's your boy Jackson. Welcome back to R10. Today I want to get on here and just talk about some things that the outside eye or the outside person may not know, or how like a certain college like things work as far as like, can people actually get cut? Can you get how like get kicked off the team? How does school and all that stuff work? And I kind of just want to briefly touch on it and talk about it. I know I ain't gonna keep you out here too long. But without further ado, let's get into it. So I see a lot of people like basketball season is wrapping up. Final four. Final four is starting I think on Thursday, I believe, or maybe Friday. I gotta check. I'm not sure. But anyways, there's always a lot of controversy when it goes towards players entering the portal, leaving maybe what people feel is a good situation, or maybe role players leaving. People like, bro, like you were going to be the guy next year and things like that. And I need people to understand the transfer portal is a two-way street. It is a two-way street, and depends on how the program is run, basketball, football, baseball, volleyball, whatever. Like the coaches make decisions, and the players have to ultimately make a decision as well. And yes, some people do prematurely leave programs and maybe don't trust the process, and they should have. And there's been like bad cases, but there's also the case of um, and football, I know for sure, basketball as well. As long as you're an undergrad student, right? The team cannot cut you from the team. So you'll always have an academic scholarship for your room and board and all that. And you get a stipend and all that. However, they can say things to get you to leave, like, oh, well, we just don't see a future here for you. Like, maybe you should explore the options. Or a school might tell you, hey, you know, you're a really good player, but we think like you might be better suited at a different program, or we think you should go a different direction. And as an athlete, like sometimes, and I've known for this to happen, like some dudes would just hang it up and be like, okay, well, y'all just pay for my school. Like, I'm not doing that, because what happens is the second you put your name into the transfer portal, once that semester ends, you're no longer obligated to be on scholarship at that school as an undergrad student. So if you are an undergrad student, nobody can technically get kicked off or cut from the team because of their play. Now, if you are someone that has had academic problems as far as like being eligible potentially things like that, then you do give up your opportunity to be on full scholarship for the 4 years that is required for you to complete your undergrad. And I think a lot of people like get confused with that, because it's like, oh well, this guy left and like, no, there have been situations where there is either like a mutual breakup or destination, or a coach tells the kid like yeah, we don't want you, and they can like do it in different ways, things like that. And a lot of schools do it maybe the wrong way, and then other schools do it the right way and be like, hey, like, you're a really good player, but the room's just too deep, and we don't see you like kind of breaking the lineup, and maybe somebody with 2 or 3 years left, like, and we want you to go somewhere you can play and use the talents that we know you have. Kind of here is, it's a bad situation, and we don't want you just sitting on the bench. Ultimately, it's up to the decision for the player to make. And so people that are watching this and that are fans and things like that, I need you to understand, when a player enters the transfer portal, it is not always about money. Um, and I know it sounds rare in some day and age as well. It may not always be about football or the money. It could be about school. I know people that have been trying to take like a certain major, things like that, and basically schools like, look, like we normally don't allow football players to take this because it's not doable, as far as like maybe the practice times don't add up, or it's not possible to do it. So basically, what I got on here to talk about is people need to understand that the transfer portal, players exiting programs and things like that is a two-way street, and you'll never know like the full story of what happens. But it's not all on the players, and it's not all on the coaches. And yes, some players may feel undervalued or feel like they didn't get what was owed to them and things like that, or vice versa. The school may be like, look, we're not breaking the bank to keep you, and or the academic problems, or coach can simply think the player's not good enough to get out. So I'm gonna remake this video. What's up, family? It's your boy Jack. I'm back on all 10. If you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe on my last post. Check it out. And follow me on my socials. I appreciate y'all. I ain't gonna keep y'all too long. Today, really, I just wanted to get on here and kind of talk about what the two-way street of college football is. A lot of players entering the portal, deciding to go to other schools, or sometimes people just hanging them up. And this is for all Division One athletics. I'll talk about, and then I kind of too will get into like what a contract might look like for someone that is receiving money. Because believe it or not, 97 to 98% of all Division One schools are paying money. Now, of course, the smaller schools aren't paying as much as the bigger schools, but some of these smaller schools, bro, got some real money. And not gonna disclose how much anybody is making on here. However, I will like kind of talk through like the contract situation and things like that, just in case somebody's a player that's looking into this, or maybe a parent trying to figure out how to navigate it. And like I mentioned in my last video, if you haven't done it before, get some representation. And don't do. I saw somebody paying a like high school coach $7,000 to be their NIL agent. No, that's not the way. No, you don't pay somebody to do it. They can represent you, and if they get you a deal, then y'all can work out how you break them off. But you don't pay somebody to be an agent. But anyways, we'll get into that. So how things go nowadays, and this is really for all Division One sports. If anybody disagrees, comment below. We can talk about it. But if an athlete, you get to the end of the season, and there's discussions with the coaches and things like that, and if you're a player with another year eligibility, another 2-3 years eligibility, right? Main thing you do is you go in there and y'all talk about maybe did you have a good season? Did you have a bad season? These are exit interviews, exit interviews. So is there a good season? Is there a bad season? You talk to your position coach. You talk to your head coach, and maybe if your school is a school that has a team like a general manager or like that. And then these may be decisions that haven't been talked about, but there's like, okay, well, this is where we see you at, or this is where we think you can get to, or the other way. Yeah, man, well, we think you're a really talented player, but we don't think it's going to work out for you here. However, schools are not allowed to technically just take you off a scholarship. So if you are an undergrad student and you haven't finished your degree, let's just say player is a junior, right? And going into and at the end of your junior season, maybe you have 2 more semesters left that you need to graduate school, but you might have two years eligibility left for that, like that, right? Let's call it what it is, right? If you go to your exit meeting and the coach is like, yeah, man, we don't want you on the team anymore, pretty much. Like if they just say that, because the coach can't say you're off a scholarship, because that's not a thing. But they can be like, hey, yeah, like you're never gonna play snap here. You should leave. And they can say that. But as a undergrad student, you have every right to look that coach in his eyes and says, I'm not going anywhere. I want to finish my degree. Now, as far as actually being on the team, you're not going to be on the team. They can do that. But they do have the obligation to pay for your degree. As long as you're in good academic standing, no off the field issues as far as like criminal things and things like that. And maybe maybe you've played for 2-3 years. Like, man, I just don't love the game no more. I don't want to go pursue anywhere else. Or maybe I just want to get my degree from this school, and then we'll figure it out. You can always stand your ground and be like, hey, I appreciate you, coach, but I'm going to stay right here, go to school, get my stipend still, because they have to pay you that as well. That is the thing. So don't ever let somebody think you've lost your scholarship. Now, the other 2 ways it can go as well is, hey, we want you to, we like you, and this is what kind of ties the contract thing. Yeah, we like you. This is the dollar amount. This is what we want to offer you. This is what we want to pay you over the next year, 2 years, however schools work. A lot of schools do multi-year contracts, to make the dollar sign look bigger, and things like that. And that's that's where you get into representation and tell you if this is a good deal, this is compared to the market, things like that. However, as an athlete, if you do not like what the school is offering you, and you decide to enter that transfer portal, just know, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows this, but I'm just educating. That's solely what I made this channel for and want to do. If you put your name in that portal to test the waters without representation or like that, or whatever, if you just throw your name in the portal, you are off scholarship. The second your name hits that portal, the next semester, that school doesn't owe you anything. So just make sure you have a plan. If that's what you're planning on doing. And then, of course, the perfect way, hey, you had a great season. We're excited for next year. We want you back. Offer you a good dollar amount, whatever like that. You feel compensated. You feel good. Taking hand of business and all that. Like, it's good. And And that's the best way to go about it, you know. It's the best way to go about it. And I like me personally, like that's kind of how my situation was. Wasn't really like much like negotiations back and forth, you know. I felt well appreciated, you know, by my school. I graduate, shoot, 2 months here, got another year eligibility, so you know, we're gonna rock out. And then we'll tie in, and I'll go to the next thing, right? So contracts. When you hear somebody say the word contract and it's crazy now, and I ain't gonna lie, I did it too. I made the post. Dudes are posting, hey, I re-signed with my school. I'll be back for another year. Basketball, football, baseball, whatever you at the end of the season. Because the thing is, especially at the lower levels, when you have an all-conference year, a good year, a really good year, graded wise, whatever like that, or people are taking notice, you took a step. You might have the size and physicality to play the Power 5 or Power 4 level, I apologize, or basketball high major. Or maybe you transfer to another mid-major that wants to pay you a lot of money. Don't sleep on any school, because if a school wants you, they're gonna show you. And unfortunately nowadays, it's gonna come like it's gonna be shown in that dollar amount. I said that to say, you know, contracts are presented in different ways as far as how compared to what you might think of with the NFL and NBA. Like this isn't that. However, some schools do have like signing bonuses. Like, hey, like you sign this, like you're promising you're coming back. So that way, it's just protecting them. Because if you tell them you're coming back, you sign something, you enter name in the portal, you got legal issues. And not saying you gonna lose, but it's like you gotta go to court and all that. And it's like, who wants to deal with that? So these contracts pretty much are just tying you to the university. Because originally you would sign a national letter of intent that would tie you to the university. With the world of the transfer portal and things like that, it just doesn't really. In the NLI, it's fluid. So the contract situation though is binding and good, and which is why everybody needs representation for someone to tell you, hey, I don't like this clause. Let's go back and talk about it to the school. You know, and contracts, you know, they'll be sold out on there'll be different type of things. Some schools will pay you every 15th. Some schools will pay you on the first. Some schools will pay you on the last day of every month. You know, and everybody's dollar is different. You know, there isn't a like contract, if that makes sense. Like, if somebody has 1 year left, their money might be more front loaded because it's like, okay, you're about to graduate, so we want to pay you your money. If you want a multi-year contract, you know, the school may be like, hey, okay, so next year we're gonna pay you a lot of money, but you stay that next year, the year after, and it's supposed to be more enticing to get you to sign. You know, you stay that year and you stay the year after, you're gonna be a paid man. And the market fluctuates, the market moves. And you know, and it's the tricky part of why I like wish and I pray that CBA gets put in place so like people could know the actual market. Because like, you know, in NFL, somebody gets the highest paid contract or like that. Like, you know, okay, so if I go out next year and be an All-American, whatever, do this, do that, this is what I can command. Not saying you should demand that. Because at the end of the day, if you're a person like me, like I want to go to the NFL. That's my end goal. But being paid and getting some bread while I'm here is not a bad deal either. And I don't take that for granted. But it's like, do you want to go chase a high crazy figure bag and maybe risk having coaching? Like I wouldn't trade my offensive line coach. There isn't a dollar amount that could get me to leave my offensive line coach right now. I like completely honest. As far as like I have aspirations to be next year this time getting ready to get drafted. Like that's my goal, you know. And sometimes there's just stuff money can't buy, and that's something that I feel like money can't buy. And the last thing, you know, it's just you know how contracts, you know, a contract is a contract at the end of the day. It's just so crazy that now you're gonna have 16 to 23-year-olds dealing with the same type of contract in college, and there's no like CBA or nothing like that protecting you. So like I say, I've said before, you need some type of representation. And the last thing I want to talk about is today the NCAA basically announced, and y'all have heard me say this before, maybe not on this channel, the NCAA announced that anybody that enters the transfer portal, like today the NCAA announced anybody that unenrolls from their school and goes to another school and they don't use the proper transfer portal, I believe like the coach will be suspended for like 50, like the school that kid is going to. The coach will be suspended for 50% of the year, if that happens. So, and there used to be this thing where athletes would be like, the transfer portal isn't a real thing because all in all, like you can unenroll and just go to another school and not do anything. The quarterback at Tulane, did that last year. Ran into some problems at BYU. The portal wasn't open when the situation took place because this was like 2 weeks before fall camp. So he put his name in the portal, but he didn't put his name in the portal. He just unenrolled from BYU and walked on at Tulane. And then when he got to Tulane, the season started, he was on scholarship and paid. I'm not sure if he was on scholarship. Don't quote me on that. But he was a quarterback, pretty good quarterback. Like I said, like Tulane was a good ball club last year for sure, as you all see. But the whole idea of all the transfer portal isn't a real thing. Really, the NCAA just kind of killed that. However, that decision was made without players. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, okay, dudes can't just up and lead their schools now, things like that. And like, you're basically buying it. But it's just like, I have mixed feelings about it because like, so much can change from the end of a season until the end of spring ball. And granted, yes, you should. The grass is always greener where you water it. And it grows where you water it, But you just don't know what's happening, what takes place in people's lives and things like that, where somebody might actually need to transfer, but they can't, or they now it's to the point like no coach is going to risk not coaching 50% of the games. A coach not going to risk his paycheck for you to unenroll and just enroll or walk on at his school, So, y'all let me know what y'all think about that. I'm not a big fan of this new ruling. I feel like the punishments, like, it's a little ridiculous, and I feel like it's more of the NCAA just trying to flex their muscle. Like, look, y'all are going to use the transfer portal dates like we set them to be. However, it's unfair, I feel like, because a lot can change from December until the end of spring ball, and only having one window and a 15-day window that is for people to basically decide their livelihoods is unrealistic, and it's not fair. It's not fair. But I do appreciate the NCAA for trying. I feel like they had the right idea, but they just went the wrong way about executing it, But that's gonna be the rule for this year. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see what lawsuits coming from it, because we all know one is coming. Somebody's gonna be unhappy with their school, or some school maybe gonna say they was gonna pay kid X amount of dollars and never doing. The kid's like, oh, I'm out, and then kid will want to transfer to school, but nobody gonna want to take them as a walk on or just a regular student enrollee, because it's like, hey, buddy, I'm not about to sit out 50% of the games and miss half my paycheck. No, sir. So, we'll see. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. Keep supporting me, bro. I swear, like, I'm gonna grow this. I really feel like I'm confident in it. I got a good idea. I just gotta keep pushing content. And I appreciate everybody tuning in that does watch me, my few viewers. I appreciate y'all. So I'm gonna catch y'all soon. All right, deuces.